Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about my Vexus AVX boat. For those of you who watch the channel, you know that I had a problem with it. The hull was leaking and we've had to deal with that for the last few months. I've been back in my boat for about a month, so I've got it back from Vexus and I've had a chance to run it and make sure everything was taken care of. And we're going to talk about start to finish my situation with Vexus, where there's always the buyer, which is me, the dealer, which is CNC Marine out here in Central California, and the manufacturer, which is Vexus back in Arkansas. We'll be talking about my experience from start to finish, buying the boat, having the problem, getting it resolved, and carrying on with my fishing. So this will be of a special interest to anyone that owns a Vexus AVX series or anyone thinking about buying a Vexus. So let's jump back about, I guess about 5 years. At the time I was running a Ranger RT 188, which is their 18.5-foot aluminum boat with a 115 Yamaha. I love that boat. I was having a great time in that. And you know, like any boat, I was thinking, man, if I did it again, I would need this, this, and this, or I'd change this, you know, kind of little things like that. But I was really happy with the Ranger. You know, some of the things that I kind of wish the Ranger had, the Vexus kind of had that. So I was thinking, man, if I'd known about this Vexus boat company before I got the Ranger, I might have really took a hard look at the Vexus. About 6 months after I found out about the company, I had a screaming deal or an opportunity to buy one of the Vexus. Even though I was happy with my Ranger, I talked to my wife about it, and somehow she said, you know, that sounds like a good deal. Maybe you should take a look at that. Well, as soon as the jet stream cleared from me heading out the door, coming back in a couple hours, I said, you know, honey, I really like the boat, let's do it. Bought the boat, and I can tell you from day one doing the break-in, I love this boat. I like the way it rode, I like the way it felt, I like the way it sounded. Everything looked just like I wanted it. And by the way, here's some advice. Never, especially for you young anglers, never tell your wife that, man, if I get this boat, this is the last boat I'll ever buy. That's a mistake, because I've gone through that 2 or 3 times already, and I think my wife either records me or she jots it down and puts the date and has me sign it, and I've had to fall back on my word several times. But anyhow, I got the boat, really liked it, started fishing with it, catching fish, everything was going great. Let's jump ahead about 2 years. All of a sudden I start reading on these forums that people are finding cracks in the hull, leaks, things like that, and I'm thinking, wow, I said, I guess I just got one of the good ones, or maybe, you know, they had, you know, bad batch of whatever it was, or something was going on. But it seemed like a lot of people were having some problems with the Vexus. So I'm out fishing one day, and all of a sudden my bilge comes on. Bilge is out about a gallon of water or two, and I said, oh shoot, what the heck happened here? Must have got a wave over the back or something. No big deal. Went home, went out the next day or so. And by the way, I fish about almost 200 days a year, and so I'm out pretty much every day, especially during the summer. I noticed the bilge starts coming on about every 2 hours, and I'm thinking something's wrong here. I know there's been some leaks. I better call a couple of my correspondents, my cohorts that have told me they've had these boats, and this is, you know, they've had the same problem. You know, the leaks were always, you know, started out, they're out fishing just like I was, and the bilge comes on. And then it, you know, instead of, I think my bilge would come on about every 2.5 hours, it'd bilge out about a gallon of water. Not a big leak, but it was doing it consistently. So the first thing I did was check all the through hull fittings, nothing there. Called several of the people that had the same problem. I said, put the plug in, start filling it with water, and see if you can find a leak, which I did. Now I have some pictures of the leaks that I found, and you won't even see where the crack is. They're microscopic, but you can see where the water is leaking through on these cracks. So here I am about 4 years into a boat, and I think I have a 5-year warranty. Could be 4 years, could have been 4.5 years. So I found the leak, I know where it's at. what I'm going to do now is call CNC Marine. I called Richard out at CNC Marine, said, Rich, I got a problem here. My boat's leaking. I know where it's at. I found the leak, and it's a crack in the hull, and what do we do about this? He says, well, you got a picture of it. Send me the picture. I go, okay, here we go, baby. I'm ready to put the gloves on. And boy, I'm nervous. I'll tell you, I wasn't a good person to be around during this time of my life. I'm sorry. Sorry to my wife especially. Anyhow, send him the picture. I get a call back a couple of days later. He goes, Steve, I want you to take a picture of the VIN number and send that to me. I'm going to send it to Vexus. I'll let him know what your problem is, and I want to show him the pictures. I said, okay, here we go, baby. A couple of days later, I get a call from Richard. He says, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be shipping your boat back to Vexus. They're going to take care of it. So what I'm going to need to do is, in a week or so, we should have a trailer down here, and you'll need to pull out all your gear and pull off all your electronics. And I said, so what are they going to do? He says, well, they're going to take the boat, they're going to pull your motor off, they'll probably pull the console off, the electronics, probably your seats, and they're going to replace the entire boat. And I'm thinking, yeah, I've heard this before, but it didn't sound like a bad deal to me. So I'll play along with this. Can I still fish the boat? He says, yeah. He goes, go ahead and fish it. I said, one thing I want to make sure, I don't want to have this thing crack and then they're going to tell me that it's, the warranty's no good. No, he goes, fish it. We don't care. Blah, blah, blah. They're going to replace the boat. Okay, fish the boat for about a week or so, get a call from Richard. He says the boats, our trailer's going to be in here Tuesday, have the boat in, have your electronics off, all the gear. I bring it in, no questions asked about how long have you had the boat, did you hit something, are you guiding, are you using it commercially, have you been beaching it? Nothing like that, nothing. Just give me the pictures, we're going to take a look at it, okay, we're going to fix the problem. Vexus is going to fix the problem. Hasn't been done yet, I'm a little nervous, but this is the way it goes. So I bring it in on a Monday, the trailer goes out on a Tuesday, I give them about a week, I call Vexus, I get a hold, and God darn, I wish I had the gentleman's name at Vexus. He is the gentleman that is in charge of warranties and things like that. And so I talk to him, give him my name, tell him who I am, what's going on. He says, yeah, I think we just got the boat a day or so ago. We've already started building your new boat. And I'm thinking, this is sounding better and better. And I said, okay, so, you've looked at it, everything's okay, the warranty's going to be taken care of. Yep, no problem. I said, how long is this going to take? Because some of my correspondents have said it's been 3 or 4 months. And I'm thinking, I'm a big-time YouTube guy, I can't wait 3 or 4 months. I didn't want to say that, but I felt like, if I didn't have a boat for 3 or 4 months, there was going to be some problems in my marriage. Anyhow, it says we don't have them sitting around. We build each one. We're going to build you a boat. It takes about 30 days. Once that boat is built, we'll check it, make sure it's, we'll give it a wet run, make sure it's not leaking, everything's good. And then as long as we have, it may take a week or two, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before we have a trailer that we're sending out to California. I said, okay, here's the deal. Would it be okay when you finish that boat if you called me, and if there wasn't a trailer available, I'll drive back to Arkansas, I'll pick that thing up because I need to be on the water. He says, yeah, you can do that, no problem. I gave him about 3 or 4 weeks, and I said, I got to call these guys, see what my boat's doing. Called him up, said, you know what, we just finished your boat. We have a trailer here. We're going to we're going to take it out on the lake, and then we're going to put it on the trailer. This has been like 4 weeks. I'm going to get the boat back within five weeks, maybe 6 weeks. So this is looking better and better. So it's on the trailer. Sure enough, I get a call from Richard a week or two later, or excuse me, about a week later, once the boat gets in, said, come pick your boat up. Come pick the boat up. Now, we'll go into the next situation that I had after I picked the boat up, but before that, I just want to say, CNC Marine, no problems at all. I think I say that their service was forgettable, because when you're dealing with a problem like this, the only time you remember stuff is when it's bad. And I had no problem with talking to the people, getting a hold of them on the phone, and we're talking about CNC Marine. I had no problem getting a hold of the people at Vexus on the phone. I got somebody at the factory. I always had communication with them. They got the boat done. They didn't, like I said, they didn't ask if I hit anything. They knew they had a problem, and they stood behind their product. CNC Marine was great about it. Vexus was great about it, and you know, I guess they could have welded it, or I don't know, did something, but what they did was they just replaced the hull. You're not going to find that many times when it comes to boats or cars or anything like that. So I had just an absolute great experience with Vexus and CNC Marine. I can tell you now that I've had the boat for a month, there was not one thing that was out of place or wrong. I didn't have to tighten a screw. I didn't have to change any of the wiring. Everything was ready to go. It ran from the time I turned the key on, and the boat was perfect. Now, I will also say that the Vexus AVX series, they have, I think, a V1 and a V2 series. The V2 series is a different hull with a wider bow. You guys know Vexus, you know what I'm talking about. I really wanted them to, even if I had to pay for it, I would have paid to get the newer model, the V2, but because it's a different model, they can't replace one model with another model. So I wasn't able to get the wider boat that is the V2. But what they did when they replaced the V1, they've made some upgrades to the V1 that weren't on the boat when I bought it. For instance, they have built-in running lights. They switched around just a few little things that made the boat more fishable, and all of those upgrades were put on the boat with no extra charge. As I said, they use my old console, they use my old seats, and they use my trolling motor, obviously, and they use my big motor, but everything else was brand new. So with that, I just want to say that big thanks to CNC Marine and also Vexus for my whole ordeal was maybe 6 weeks. I got a new boat out of it. The new boat is just perfect. I love this boat. For you guys that are looking at buying an AVX and looking at maybe a Vexus, the newer model with the V2, that is one thing that I really think was a big improvement on the first Vexus that come out. Now, like you said, I've got the narrower one, but I love the boat. And if one of the things that if you buy, you'll get that wider bow. That is a huge improvement on this boat. And I think they've really listened to a lot of people from in the last 4 or 5 years, because every little upgrade that they've done is something that I kind of thought about if I was going to build this boat or buy another one, I would do. They've been really good about upgrading it. The hull that I have is built a little different. It's got stronger bracing. It has a little heavier aluminum. It's got a little different keel on it. Pretty much the same bow, but it's been upgraded. It rides, I think, a little smoother, and actually I found that it's a couple miles an hour faster, and I've talked to several other people that said their newer hulls are faster, even though they're heavier aluminum. They seem to be, I've heard, a lot of you guys know Brad from, Brad Soto from out at the Delta Saints Club. He says his boat's 4 or 5 miles an hour faster. He had the same problem with his, and it came out to be, a faster hull. I don't know how that happens, but it happens. So when it comes to you folks that are out there looking for a Vexus and you're thinking about buying one, I think the real deal is not the 2080. I have the 2080. It's 20 feet 8 inches rated for a 200. And I think the 2019 is the 19 foot. I think it's 19 foot 2 inches. It's rated for a 150. That's the real deal. The smaller boat, you can get away with the single axle trailer, which cuts the price down. You have the same deck as the 2020 and the 2019. The only thing it does is it cuts about 4 to 6 inches, I guess, off of the off of the rear of the boat. All of the storage is the same, and you know, my back deck is big enough for 2 people to fish off of, so you're really not going to miss that you know, little 6 inches off the back deck. You're going to miss about maybe 10 miles an hour in speed. I get about 65 out of this boat. I think they say you get about 55 out of the 150 model, but it fishes pretty much. I've been on them. It fishes pretty similar to the 2020. Some guys say it rides just like a Ranger or a Skeeter or a Bass Cat. It does when the water's flat, but I can tell you a tracker rides great when the water's flat. This boat here will ride very strong in up to about a 2-foot chop, 15 to 20 mile an hour wind. You're not going to see a lot of difference between this and a full-size glass boat. That wind starts to get up to 20, over 20 with 2.5, 3 feet of chop. This is not going to ride like a glass boat. It's going to be very stable. It's going to be there with you. It's going to sound solid. But if you've got a 21-foot Ranger or Bass Cat or something, you're going to have that weight behind you, and it's just going to pound through that stuff. This boat, especially if you are up in that over 45, 50, it's light, and as you hit these waves, it's going to come out of the water a little bit. It's going to be perfectly fine to run in it. It's just not, you're going to know that it's a little different. So don't believe the guys that say, I've got one of these and it rides just like my old Ranger 20-footer. That's not going to be the case. But other than that, great boat. And I just wanted to put that out there. And once again, I can't say enough about how Vexus stood behind their product. And you know, when you guys are out looking for boats, think about that, because you know, things go wrong. I don't care if it's car, boat, whatever it is, house, you're going to have things go wrong, and the company that's building your boat is important, especially when it comes to warranty and how they do things. I guess they could have taken my boat and welded the seam or something, but they didn't do that. They, like you said, they went over the whole thing. So that's my 2 cents, and with that, I think I've got about 30 minutes before this tide comes up, and I've got a little spot that's not too far from here. I want to get out there and start fishing that thing. I promise my next couple videos are going to be action videos. I can't promise that, but this cloud cover, look at this. Cloud cover, we got a little bit of breeze. I know where I want to be. The tide's coming up to just where I want it. I'm going to promise you guys we're going to have some action footage coming up in the next week or so. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments and I'll be happy to answer anything for you guys, especially you prospective Vexus owners. I do not work for Vexus, by the way. They didn't give me any special treatment other than I felt like I was just a normal guy getting normal treatment from the dealer and the builder. And it was great. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the water. Be safe.